CEO's shocking panic with Chinese billionaire revealed. Incredible twist from a hidden cleaner W. Jack Reynolds sat on the edge of his sleek, polished desk, heart racing as the Seattle skyline blurred behind him. This merger with Lu Wei hung in the balance like a sword over his meticulously crafted empire. A sudden leak of sensitive company information, days before negotiations, turned his stomach into a tight coil of dread. Everything he had toiled for, his tech startup born of sweat and long college nights, teetered on the brink of collapse. Anxiety clawed at him, threatening to unravel the careful facade he built up, piece by painstaking piece. He buried his head in his hands, feeling the weight of betrayal. Who could have done this? And why? It gnawed at him, each unanswered question deepening the pit of despair. The bustling city outside felt a world away. He was lost in the echo of betrayal. Jack remembered his roots. The working-class family that imbued in him a sense of integrity and hard work he feared had been tarnished over years of ambition. Did this scandal signal the end? His breath quickened, and he couldn't shake the memory of his father's frown when Jack had chosen profit over ethics in negotiations. It was in this spiral of panic that Jack encountered Maria, a cleaning lady he typically overlooked. He brushed past her in the hall, but tonight, she caught him in a moment of weakness, witnessing the tension etched on his face. "Everything okay, Mr. Reynolds?" she asked with an unsettling calmness. Initially dismissive, he felt a hint of embarrassment in her gaze. Yet a strange curiosity sparked. How could someone so unassuming speak with such familiarity concerning his turmoil? As the night wore on, the more they spoke, the more he realized Maria understood the dynamics of the company better than most of his elite staff. Her insights clamored at the back of his mind, her concerns about loyalty echoed his internal conflict. Every exchange shed light on his own ambition, a glaring mirror of his past morals. "Success isn't just numbers," she remarked quietly. "It's about the people you uplift along the way." A pang of guilt struck him as he absorbed her wisdom, confronting the man he had become. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. But amidst the revelations, a family secret surfaced. Jack's genealogy intertwined with Lu Wei's. A shared legacy of pain and sacrifice entwined their fates. The moral implications crashed upon him like waves at a stormy sea. Utilize the revelation as leverage or honor the unspoken allegiance to his lineage. Cold ambition clawed to rise, yet warmth from familial bonds tugged at his soul relentlessly. Each heartbeat echoed with the weight of every choice laid out before him. As the tension escalated, and with only days to negotiate, two worlds collided within Jack. Would he chase after ambition and risk everything? Or would he reclaim the man who valued hard work and integrity over hollow success? Staring out over the glimmering Chicago skyline, a tempest of emotions swirled within him. The night curled around his shoulders like a shroud, pushing him toward an impending decision that could unravel not just his life but countless others as well. The path ahead remained fogged in uncertainty, each heartbeat a reminder that what lay before him was bound to redefine not just his future, but the essence of who he truly was. The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting long shadows across Jack's office. He could still feel the weight of his conversation with Maria, her words echoing in his thoughts as he prepared for the impending negotiations with Lu Wei. Although his empire rested precariously on a single decision, clarity emerged from the tumult that had invaded his mind. Jack realized that if he was to navigate this merging of worlds, he would need to confront not only the external challenges ahead but also the internal battles that threatened to derail him. He cleared his desk, pushing aside the endless spreadsheets and projections filled with potential profit margins. They meant nothing if he succumbed to the fear that wrapped around his heart. He needed a strategy rooted not just in numbers, but in values he had allowed to become overshadowed by ambition. The echoes of his father's disapproving gaze remained sharp, a lingering specter reminding him of what was at stake. Jack decided to meet with his leadership team, not just to discuss the merger but to reassess the core principles he had strayed from. Gathering them in the conference room, he felt an unexpected surge of resolve. As he took a deep breath, he realized he was ready to lead with integrity rather than fear. "We need to talk about what success means to us," he began, his voice steady. The room fell silent, each member of his team exchanging quizzical looks. "It's not just about profit or growth. True success lies in how we treat each other and the impact we have on our clients, employees, and communities." As he spoke, he observed the reactions around him. Confusion morphed into contemplation, and suddenly, he saw an opening. A flicker of hope ignited. Ideas bounced around the room as they debated the importance of loyalty, transparency, and the potential for corporate social responsibility. The change was palpable, a collective awakening to the values he once held too close to abandon. That afternoon, with renewed vigor, Jack reached out to Lu Wei's team, requesting a face-to-face meeting. He felt the sharp edge of his personal conflict blunting, but still, the knowledge of their shared heritage lingered in the corner of his mind. This reunion held more than just potential business. It was an encounter steeped in history and more than the sheer mechanics of exchange. As the sun dipped towards the horizon, Jack found himself sitting across from Lu Wei in a lavish downtown restaurant. The ornate decor could not overshadow the gravity of what lay before them. They shared stories, laughter even, casting aside the business proposition for a fleeting moment and bridging a personal chasm that connected them through blood. Yet, it was evident that beneath the laughter was a wary undercurrent. Lu Wei's eyes held depths of expectation, a business tiger ever watchful. "Family connections aside, Jack, I've heard whispers of issues within your company," Lu said, his tone shifting into a sharper register. "I trust you understand the weight of this negotiation. My investors are not forgiving." Jack's throat tightened, the implications of his recent troubles crashing against him with renewed force. It dawned on him that this was a pivotal moment. Would he use this leverage to manipulate, or would he demonstrate the loyalty he now grasped was necessary? As they re-engaged in serious discussion, Jack could feel the internal storm swirling. He was faced with his own true values against a backdrop of power and ambition. The decision loomed before him. Would he align himself with the ruthlessness associated with the corporate world, or would he navigate these waters with respect and authenticity? With determination stoked by one last exchange with Lu, Jack felt the beginnings of his awakening to a newfound approach. No longer would he let shadows of his previous self dictate his actions. But just as he thought he was coming to a resolution, an alarming notification buzzed on his phone. The screen flashed, revealing a new message that could alter his course yet again. Suddenly, uncertainty flooded back, and Jack wondered what now? Jack's eyes skimmed over the message that besieged his thoughts even as Lu Wei's keen gaze demanded his attention. The notification was from his head of finance, a stark warning about a significant error in their recent quarterly reports. Panic clawed at him, but he forced himself to maintain composure, hiding the turmoil swirling beneath his surface. It was too important to show weakness now. He refocused on Lu, reminding himself that this negotiation was not just about numbers. It was a chance to redefine himself and his company's future. Lu's eyebrows rose expectantly as Jack took a breath, forcing his heart rate to stabilize. "Let us address your concerns, Lu," he said, leaning forward slightly to emphasize his intent. He needed to steer the conversation away from the fear building inside him and back into the realm of possibilities. "I want to hear everything you've heard. If there are issues, let us confront them together." Lu leaned back, acknowledging Jack's newfound assertiveness. "I've always appreciated your forthrightness, Jack. There's talk among my investors that you're struggling to manage your team. If this merger is to hold any value, I need reassurance that you can lead them effectively." Struggling to maintain his confident facade, Jack felt a sliver of self-doubt creep in. Yet this was not the moment to crumble. Instead, it was time to reconnect with his own sense of purpose, the very values he had reasserted that afternoon. "Challenges are inevitable in any organization," he replied, though he could feel the weight of doubt in his voice. "But loyalty and integrity have always prevailed in my leadership." The feedback I've gathered is not just about numbers or performance, but real growth and engagement from my team. I recognize the need for unity now more than ever. I assure you, this merger will strengthen our collective strengths." Lou contemplated Jack's words, leaning into the debate. The conversation deepened, with Jack weaving in the core values that had rekindled his passion. They discussed transparency, shared visions, and mutual responsibilities. The more they spoke, the more Jack felt the energy shifting. Even under the scrutiny of his own doubts, he could see a flicker of optimism in Lou's demeanor, but as the intensity of the dialogue heightened, so did the awareness of the ticking clock. Jack's phone buzzed again, more insistently this time. He needed to tighten his grip on the situation, both externally with Lou and internally within his company. With every passing second, he grew acutely conscious of how fragile this balance between ambition and authenticity could be. "Let us schedule a follow-up," Jack suggested, emboldened. "I can prepare a briefing that addresses these concerns, including our team dynamics and operational strategies." He caught Lou's nod, their ambitions meeting at an unexpected crossroads. But barely believing his own words, Jack felt a division forming within him. There was the business leader he aspired to be, ready to embrace change, and the CEO consumed by self-doubt and fears of failure. The two combatants clashed inside, each demanding attention. Returning home that night, Jack's mind raced. He felt a disconnect between the facade he presented to Lou and the reality waiting for him back at work. The message still haunted him. The potential fallout from that financial error loomed like an impending storm. Sitting alone in his dimly lit office, Jack contemplated the heaviest decision of his career. He would need to take a stand not only for the merger, but for the company he had built on the foundation of misguided ambition. As the night deepened, an undeniable truth gripped him. Tomorrow he would confront the financial blunder head-on, prepared to voice the necessary changes and reclaim authority within his organization. But just as he felt the first spark of conviction, an unexpected smell of burnt coffee wafted from the break room, a stark reminder of the quiet chaos around him. What clarity could he really achieve if the structure of his company was crumbling beneath the surface? As fatigue engulfed him, Jack realized that tomorrow would not only require courage in the negotiation room but a deeper commitment to his principles, one that could very well shape the future of his leadership. The moment of truth was approaching, and he knew he had to be ready to face not only his fears but whatever lurked in the shadows of his business practices. Jack woke up with a weight on his chest, the remnants of worry clinging to him like shadows in the early morning light. Today would determine more than just the fate of the merger. It was a pivotal moment for his own growth, challenging the boundaries of who he believed he could be as a leader. The error in the financial reports loomed over him, a testament to his shortcomings. He needed to face it both for his sake and for the company's future. He stood in front of the mirror, scrutinizing himself. The man looking back seemed older, worn by the stress of impending decisions. Determination flickered in his eyes, vying for prominence against the doubt that had taken root. This was not merely about managing a company. It was a test of his very identity. Was he the resilient captain steering the ship through turbulent waters, or just a sailor lost at sea? At the office, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation, each employee a reminder of his commitments and responsibilities. As Jack stepped into the building, the cascading sounds of the workspace became both motivating and oppressive. He nodded at familiar faces, exchanging polite smiles, but inside he felt a heavy partition between them. He was their leader, yet felt increasingly disconnected. His first stop was the accounting department, where the details of the financial mistake awaited him. As he approached, he was met by Claire, the head of finance, who studied him with a mix of concern and professionalism. "You wanted to go over the reports, Jack?" she asked, her tone neutral but edged with caution. "Yes," he responded, struggling to maintain the composed demeanor he was trying to embody. "We need to address the discrepancies and figure out how to move forward." Taking a seat across from her, Jack felt anxiety prickling at the edges of his resolve. Claire laid out the reports, and as they dug deeper, the numbers consumed them. It was more complicated than he realized, intertwining errors with assumptions that almost seemed like a reflection of his own misjudgments. I can correct this, but it will take time and resources, Claire said, breaking the silence that had settled heavily. We'll have to be transparent with Lou. Otherwise, it could cost us the merger. Jack's stomach twisted. Transparency meant exposing the gaps that the team had overlooked, admitting fault to a potential partner, especially one as formidable as Lou. But wasn't this the very principle he had vowed to restore? Could he emerge stronger from it? Then we do it, he decided, his voice steadier now. We prepare for a complete briefing and lay everything on the table. We have to own our past to shape our future. Each word took root, feeding his growing assertion that true leadership came from honesty, even when faced with the potential fallout. As Claire nodded, Jack could feel the tension in his muscles ease just slightly. There was clarity in the midst of chaos. His resolve had transformed from trembling doubt to a tentative strength. After the meeting, Jack's phone buzzed as a reminder of the impending follow-up with Lou. He felt the familiar pang of anxiety, a warning signal to the brain that urged him to retreat. But instead, he tackled the task at hand, drafting his points for presentation, focusing on transparency and unity. What he didn't know was how receptive Lou would be to his vulnerabilities. With each word he wrote, determination surged through him. Today wasn't just another negotiation, it was a restoration of faith in himself and his capabilities. Could he push through this fear and reclaim the narrative of his leadership? The hours slipped away, each moment drawing him closer to the meeting with Lou. But instead of steering away from the precarious reality of the financial error, Jack now understood it may serve as a catalyst for strengthening both his professional and personal identity. As he walked into the meeting room, heart racing but mind clear, Jack felt the pulse of opportunity. What legacy would he create from this moment? Would he finally transcend the limits he had imposed on himself and emerge as the leader he was meant to be? But just as he was about to address the gathered team, an unforeseen figure loomed in the doorway, a face he hadn't expected to see. A reminder that shadows often emerge when least anticipated. Jack, we need to talk. The voice cut through the air, drawing everyone's attention. Jack turned, the moment suspended in an awkward silence that felt almost suffocating. The figure at the door was Andrew, a former colleague, now a consultant who had left the company under less than favorable circumstances. His unexpected appearance stirred a whirlwind of memories, some of which Jack had tried to suppress. "What are you doing here?" Jack managed to ask, trying to regain control over the situation. Andrew stepped into the room, confidently dismissing the tension that clung to everyone. "I have insights on Lou's expectations and some details around the merger that might be beneficial. Can we talk privately?" Jack's instincts surged with caution. Was this genuine support? Or was Andrew here to exploit the cracks in his leadership? The question lingered in the air, heavy with distrust. He took a breath, aware that this was a pivotal moment in defining how he faced adversity, not just from the outside, but from those he had once considered allies. "Our briefing is in 10 minutes, Jack said slowly, weighing his options, "but I'm willing to hear what you have to say." As Andrew led him out of the conference room, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of trepidation. The impending conversation felt like a double-edged sword, an opportunity for valuable insight or a reminder of his past failures. In a secluded corner, Andrew leaned against the wall, his demeanor casual, but his eyes were sharp. He began, a hint of condescension in his voice. "You'd be surprised how much Lou values transparency. He's not a traditional businessman. He's more of a strategist. He enjoys a challenge, and he'll respect you more if you own your mistakes." Jack's stomach tightened. The implications of Andrew's words collided with his growing resolve. Would he truly step into the light and expose the errors that lingered in the dark corners of his leadership? He had made the decision to embrace transparency with Lou, but here was someone who had seen his vulnerabilities up close, offering unsolicited advice. "Why should I trust you? This advice comes with a tainted past," Jack replied, feeling his face flush with defiance. "You left us in a precarious position, Andrew." "I left because I wasn't aligned with your direction," Andrew shot back, the edge of hurt evident in his voice. "But I can't help but admire your courage now. You're confronting the mistakes. I only wish I had been that brave." At that moment, Jack realized that Andrew's presence was no random twist of fate. It was a chance to confront not just the shadow of past mistakes, but an opportunity to claim his narrative as a leader. Bravery isn't just about confronting others. It's about confronting oneself, Jack stated, feeling a surge of conviction. As the minutes ticked down before the meeting with Lou, Jack's mind raced. Andrew's visit forced him to navigate the intersection of his past confidence and present insecurities. He took a mental inventory of the lessons learned, the strength within him emerging with every moment of uncertainty. Could Andrew's unexpected return serve as a catalyst for his own transformation? Ignoring the apprehensions that usually clouded his judgment, Jack finally decided, okay, let us use this conversation to outline what I should focus on with Lou. You said he values strategists. Andrew nodded cautiously, the surprised expression on his face signaling that he hadn't expected Jack to lean into partnership, even with someone whose loyalty had faltered. Together, they began pacing through the merging points for the meeting ahead, Jack starting to see the potential in the alliance, however tenuous it may be. Then, just as they began formulating promising strategies, Jack's phone buzzed with a message from Claire. We've received word that Lou is questioning our credibility. He's expecting reinforced reassurance in our upcoming meeting. The weight of expectations settled back on Jack's shoulders, yet he felt strengthened, not shackled. He turned to Andrew, eyes sparkled with renewed energy. The pieces felt like they were slowly falling into place. But in the back of his mind, yet another question loomed. What deeper currents were at play around the merger? And what would Lou, the ultimate decision-maker, reveal next? As he walked back into the meeting room with Andrew behind him, Jack's heart raced anew, weighing the balance of confronting his truth against the demands of an unpredictable future. Would he emerge empowered, or would the shadows from his past consume him again? The moment approached, fraught with promise and peril, one that would force him into the uncharted territories of his leadership journey. What revelation would underpin the negotiations with Lou, and how would it reshape Jack's understanding of himself as a leader? Jack stepped back into the meeting room, the soft hum of conversation muted as the door clicked shut behind him. There was a buzz of energy in the air, a mixture of apprehension and anticipation from the team seated around the board table. Andrew lingered just outside the door, his presence a reminder of the weighty decisions looming ahead as Jack took his place at the head of the table. A strange calm washed over him. He had traded insecurity for clarity, a subtle but profound transformation born from a single moment in the hall. He couldn't ignore the shift. He was leading not just with experience, but with authenticity, ready to share the lessons born from both triumphs and failures. Thank you all for coming, Jack began, his voice steady despite the rapid beating of his heart. Today, I want to talk about where we stand with our partnership and how we can ensure we meet Lou's expectations. We can't afford any missteps. Eyes flickered towards him, reflecting the unease of the group. Jack met their gazes with resolve, feeling the surge of confidence buoy him. He had to remember Andrew's words and utilize the discomfort these conversations brought. Opening himself to vulnerability could be the key to not just meeting challenges, but overcoming them. Lou values honesty and transparency, Jack continued, recalling Andrew's advice. I think it's crucial we acknowledge the challenges we've faced as a team during the merger discussions. We've experienced setbacks, and we need to articulate clearly how we are addressing them. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. As the discussion evolved, Jack felt a sense of control return. He facilitated dialogue, extracting insights from his colleagues, encouraging them to share their own thoughts on the merger. Every opinion collected was another stone laid for the edifice he was building, an edifice built on collaboration, not isolation. But amid the productive exchanges, Jack caught the glint of skepticism in some of his team members' eyes as they discussed Lou's expectations. It simmered beneath their professional facades. They were afraid of failure, of disappointing not just Lou, but Jack himself. He knew that overcoming that fear was vital to their success. Listen, Jack said, raising his voice slightly to command attention. I understand your fears. The pressure we're facing is immense. But remember, we win or lose as a team. Let us turn this pressure into a catalyst for creativity and strategy. We have strengths to leverage, let's showcase them. Gradually, the tension in the room dissipated, replaced by a growing sense of purpose. Ideas flowed more easily, enthusiasm beginning to replace the fear that had clouded their motivations. Jack felt a ripple of pride. He was instilling confidence not only in himself but in the team around him. Together, they delved into strategic avenues they could take to reassure Lou of their credibility. The meeting surged forward, reaching a fever pitch of creativity and collaboration. Jack's heart swelled with an unusual sense of belonging as he orchestrated discussions into actionable plans. It was no longer just about him meeting expectations. It was about the entire team rallying around a shared goal, a concept he had previously overlooked. But as he immersed deeper in the discussions, a fleeting thought nagged at the edges of his mind. Was this who he was meant to become? This version of himself, unrestrained by fear and open to collaboration, was it sustainable? Just as he pushed the thought away, Andrew's voice broke through with an unexpected observation about Lou's potential red flags. If we lead with transparency, we also need to anticipate potential resistance from Lou. We've got to be ready for pushback, not just open dialogue, Andrew advised, leaning forward, intense focus illuminating his face. Jack nodded, recognizing the wisdom in Andrew's sincerity. But somewhere deep inside, doubt clenched once more. Was Andrew's unexpected advice an olive branch or another trap waiting to ensnare him? As the meeting concluded, Jack felt a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. They had laid the groundwork for something significant, yet an unresolved thread lingered. Would the honesty he had embraced resonate with Lou, or would it expose his vulnerabilities to a predatory corporate world? The weight of the upcoming confrontation loomed large on his shoulders. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that this was his moment to redefine not just his leadership, but who he was as a person. Jack took a deep breath, sensing the crossroads he was approaching. What would the next encounter with Lou reveal about his personal philosophy, and would it demand a price he was prepared to pay? The day of the meeting with Lou arrived, and Jack felt the weight of expectation pressing down like a dense fog. He had rallied his team, ignited their spirits, but now it was time for the true test, confronting the very standards they were attempting to uphold. Jack surveyed the quiet conference room as he waited. Each minute stretched like an eternity, filled with musings of potential pitfalls and long-standing fears. As he drifted into thought, he felt the subtle tremors of doubt returning, gnawing at his resolve. Had they done enough? Did the team's newfound enthusiasm translate into real progress? Or had he simply masked their insecurities with his rhetoric? Jack shook his head, forcing himself to focus. He needed to harness the clear vision he had embraced during the last meeting, a vision bolstered by the collaboration he had fostered. Lou arrived punctually, exuding an air of composed authority that demanded immediate respect. Jack stood to greet him, extending a hand with purpose. Mr. Lou, thank you for being here today. We've made considerable efforts to align with your expectations. Lou's gaze flickered over Jack, assessing, evaluating. It was probing and disarming. I reviewed your proposals. They are impressive on paper. However, as you know, I believe results speak louder than words, he replied, his accent thick but clear. Eyes narrowing slightly, Jack nodded, adrenaline surging through him. Absolutely. We've made some strategic adjustments to address the feedback and challenges we faced during our discussions. I want you to understand that we are genuinely committed to making this partnership work. Lou lifted an eyebrow. The tension in the room thickened. Commitment is only a small part of the equation. What I require is clarity about your long-term vision. Can you assure me that you understand my company's values and what I seek in this collaboration? Those words struck deep, echoing Jack's own internal struggle. Was he equipped to outline a vision that resonated with someone who wielded such power? He scanned through his mind, grasping for a coherent narrative. Suddenly, he was reminded of the conversations he had with his colleagues, the collaborative efforts on which they had built their plans. He took a breath, centering himself. As we prepare to synergize our operations, I believe that our strengths lie in innovation and adaptability. We want to blend our methodologies with yours. But more importantly, we want to cultivate an environment of openness and transparency, as we learned from our recent challenges. Lou leaned back, visibly intrigued but still guarded. Daring approach. Trust requires action, not only words. Show me that you can adapt quickly if roadblocks arise. You must be ready to pivot. How will you prepare yourself and your team for such challenges? Jack felt the flush of warmth rise to his cheeks, the question slicing through his bravado. Preparation was indeed the crux of leadership, but the fortitude to embrace inevitable setbacks was a lesson he was still mastering. We initiated regular strategy sessions to reassess our approach and integrate feedback swiftly. But I must ask for your trust as well. There will be moments we will need to navigate taking calculated risks. The challenge hung in the air, palpable and real. Would Lou perceive Jack's honesty as a strength, or a vulnerability ripe for exploitation? Jack could sense Andrew's skepticism pulling at the edges of his thoughts, questioning whether he could sustain this path he had chosen. Lou regarded him with a stillness that felt like eternity, then nodded slowly. Trust is a two-way street, Jack. What I need to see from you in the coming weeks is not just adaptability, but decisiveness, for there will be many opportunities to test your resolve. The meeting wrapped up, and as they parted ways, Jack felt the thrill of uncertainty wash over him once again. Had he managed to earn even a sliver of Lou's trust, or had he simply revealed the cracks in his armor? In the following weeks, he knew he would be tested not just as a leader, but as an individual. How would he respond to Lou's demands while simultaneously grappling with the established fears within himself? And, more importantly, would he find a way to maintain the authentic version of himself he'd began to embrace? With each tick of the clock, Jack realized he was standing on the precipice of his personal revolution. The future had begun to unfurl before him with both opportunity and risk, but now it was time to face the fallout of his choices. What could he learn from failure, and would it be the unintended teacher he'd need in this ever-evolving game of corporate chess? Jack sat at his desk, mind spinning with the enormity of the expectations set by Lou. The initial thrill of the meeting was dulled now by the weight of reality. Doubts reshaped themselves with every tick of the clock, a relentless reminder of his vulnerability. Every thought was a confrontation with the metrics of success and the ghost of what could become failure. He didn't flinch at the prospect of being undermined. It was the visceral fear of disappointing his team that gnawed deeper. For days, he second-guessed every decision, analyzing each team member's outputs, scrutinizing their reactions in meetings. He noted Andrew's skepticism, a cold shadow lurking in the corners of conversations. It was during a strategy session, designed to foster open dialogue, that Jack decided to revisit the core of his leadership philosophy. He gathered everyone around the conference table, harnessing the hesitance that had become somewhat normal. "Let us recalibrate," he started, measuring his tone carefully. "I want to hear every voice in this room. I need to know how you are all feeling about the direction we're heading. This isn't just about Lou or the partnership. It's about setting us up for success moving forward." The vulnerability hung in the air like an electric charge. Surprisingly, instead of skepticism, he found something else: curiosity and relief rippling across the faces of his colleagues. They began to share their concerns and suggestions. Jack actively listened, not just with his ears but with an openness he was beginning to cultivate within himself. Each voice added a new layer of insight that he hadn't considered. They were not mere subordinates, they were co-architects, and in that realization, Jack found a sturdy foundation for trust. Tina, one of the brighter strategists in the group, suggested a series of quick wins they could showcase to Lou, a prototype of their idea's cultural interconnectedness. "We need something that highlights what we can do together, something tangible that transcends the proposal stage," she explained passionately. Jack felt a spark of excitement infuse his anxiety. What if we staged a collaborative project? Can we design a working group to roll something out quickly that embodies our joint vision? He paused for a moment, allowing the suggestion to linger. Something that shows not just our potential but our willingness to trust one another. We present a united front. As ideas flowed, Jack began to appreciate the depth of the intelligence in the room. Each suggestion wasn't just a business tactic. It was a reflection of their shared aspirations and fears. The energy shifted from one of trepidation to exhilaration, igniting a potential he had lost sight of amidst the uncertainty. They discussed timelines and responsibilities, transforming Jack's fears into collective action. Still, in the depths of his mind, a continuous whisper echoed. Was he equipped to keep steering this ship through turbulent waters? The question pulsed insistently, especially knowing the stakes involved. Could the team really navigate the high tides of expectations Lou had set forth? Jack resolved to confront this hesitation head-on rather than allow it to paralyze him. After the meeting, he caught Andrew outside the door. "What do you really think?" Jack inquired, the warmth of camaraderie making him bold. "Do you believe we can pull this off?" Andrew studied him, wariness overshadowing his features. "If you're honest with your team and push as hard as we need to, we might just catch Lou by surprise." "But it's a stretch, Jack." The honesty in Andrew's voice stirred something within Jack, a harsh recognition of the tightrope he walked. There was no room for self-doubt. He had to step up as the steward of his team's aspirations, or risk losing their faith. The minutes drained from the day like sand through fingers, but the urgency of his mission galvanized Jack forward. As night fell, he drafted an outline for their collaborative project, energizing the fluctuating possibilities he had seen in that meeting. Each paragraph defined their unshakable commitment, highlighting their adaptability and innovation. Jack couldn't afford to lose Lou's trust. He couldn't afford to lose his team's faith, either. The stakes heightened not just for the partnership with Lou but for his growth and responsibility as a leader. In the dim light of his office, he felt a surge of anticipation as he crafted the project outline, constructing a vision that not only encompassed their current challenges but reinvented their trajectory. Now, he wasn't just preserving his professional integrity. He was building a legacy. The coming weeks loomed ahead, demanding decisiveness from him and his team. Would Jack rise to the occasion and maintain the authentic leadership he was cultivating, or falter under the pressures he had been avoiding? As he clicked send on the email to circulate the project proposal, he realized the true test lay not in his ability to manage expectations, but in how he would confront the inevitable challenges ahead, with his team at his side. But when the next email landed in his inbox, with a subject line indicating Lou's urgent response, Jack felt the familiar knot of anxiety clamp down once more, tightening with the realization that everything was now about to change. The pressure mounted with the realization that Lou's response could pivot everything. As Jack opened the email, his heart thumped loudly, a drumbeat of anxiety echoing through his office. He scanned the message, the words dancing off the screen with disorienting speed, and his pulse quickened. Lou wanted a meeting, but not just to discuss their project. He demanded a presentation in 2 days. Awareness of the clock ticking blended with a constriction in his chest. Jack's instincts kicked in, spurred by the expectations rapidly accumulating around him. 2 days didn't just mean preparing slides or drafting talking points. It hinted exhaustion amid insomniac nights and the chaos of uncertainty. He immediately recognized there was no time for hesitation, no room for the self-doubt that had plagued him. Any weakness now could send ripples of instability throughout his team. He rallied the team early the next morning, the room buzzing with the murmur of anxious conversation. Despite the camaraderie from their recent meeting, Jack sensed the undercurrents of apprehension creeping back in. The atmosphere shifted as he laid out Lou's expectations. "We have 2 days to present a compelling case. This is about proving our mettle as a team. We need to showcase that we can excel together. I want us to not only meet Lou's expectations but exceed them." As he spoke, Jack felt a duality within himself, the pragmatic leader strategizing for success and the internal voice, a whisper that cautioned him against overextending. Was he really equipped to attain such a lofty ambition? He shook the thought away, focusing on the task at hand. For the next hours, they broke into smaller groups. Teams discussed tactics, dove deep into their project outline, and exchanged ideas. Jack moved from group to group, listening and coaxing more from each discussion. He observed how Andrew rallied his sub-team, his skepticism morphing into a supportive foundation for the young members, and he felt a swell of pride. However, behind the conversations and collaborative efforts, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting with Lou also served as a test of his leadership quality. It wasn't merely about the outcome. It was an assessment of what kind of leader he was evolving into under pressure. Would he cement his role as a guide and mentor, or would he slip back into old patterns of self-doubt? As evening encroached, exhaustion settled in like a heavy mist. After sending the day's notes, Jack lingered in his office. Their ideas seemed solid, yet they needed polishing. The thought of defining their approach, ensuring everyone had clarity, felt like navigating through uncharted waters. Then, a flash of realization struck him. Genuine progress stemmed from vulnerability, not only as a strategy among himself and Lou but among his team. The next morning, he decided to invite everyone to share their thoughts on the proposed presentation in an unfiltered manner, encouraging them to express not just ideas but apprehensions. Transparent leadership would forge a stronger bond, a shared commitment to risk and success. The following day, during the morning huddle, he encouraged an open floor. "What are your worries?" he asked, heart racing. "I want us to address every doubt we have. These discussions can build our strength." What followed set his mind ablaze. In the cascade of ideas and candid remarks, Jack saw enthusiasm reignite. Skepticism transformed into frank dialogue, where vulnerabilities were laid bare. Each expression of fear acted as a stepping stone toward strategic solutions. They began to think like a cohesive unit rather than fragments relying solely on individual attributes. By the end of the morning session, Jack felt energized with a newfound clarity. He understood he was stitching together something powerful. He wasn't just presenting to Lou. They were ushering in a new era of collaboration within their team. But as he left the meeting, invigorated yet mindful of the looming deadline, a chilling thought surfaced. Facing Lou was only the beginning. What if their presentation ignited more than just professional scrutiny? What if it stirred deeper scrutiny into Jack's leadership potential? With a deep breath, he steeled himself for the gravity of what lay ahead. Tomorrow would not only define their work together, but also crystallize Jack's own future in this role. The sun rose sharply over the city of Seattle, casting a bright, purposeful light on Jack Reynolds as he looked out from his office window. Today was the day of reckoning, a moment rich with potential and rife with uncertainty. The two-day sprint to prepare for the critical meeting with Lou Wei had transformed Jack and his team, forging a collective resilience that had not been present before. Each member of his team had contributed their strengths, aligning their goals with newfound camaraderie, a stark contrast to the isolated battles of self-doubt Jack had faced in the past. Jack took a deep breath, feeling revved with purpose. This morning was different. The doubt that had once taken root in his heart felt lighter, overshadowed by a renewed sense of clarity. He recalled every discussion that led to their presentation, their late nights fueled by coffee and determination. They were ready to in the meeting room. The air was thick with anticipation as the team gathered, the weight of their collective efforts mounting. They took their positions as Jack stepped forward, anchoring his nerves with the thought of every voice that had contributed to this narrative. "Today is not just a presentation to Lou," he began, his voice steady, a departure from the uncertainty that plagued him just weeks earlier. "It's a testament to every lesson learned along the way, every conversation, every worry shared. We stand united, and together, we will showcase our true potential." The team leaned forward, energized by their leader's unwavering conviction. As Jack introduced their project, he reframed their collaborative vision, offering tangible evidence of their strengths and adaptability. He could see Lou's expression sharpen. His interest peaked as Jack articulated their strategy, each word punctuated by the trust he had nurtured among his team. Something within Jack had solidified. He recognized that leadership resided not solely within executive decisions or profit margins, but in people his own team and their shared ambitions. The synergy they created would be the hallmark of success. Every slide they unveiled provided clarity, demonstrating their commitment to transparency. The doubts that plagued Jack were no longer solitary burdens. They transformed into stepping stones that propelled him forward. With every passing moment, he felt less like the CEO haunted by fear and more like a leader who embraced change and authenticity. Lou nodded appreciatively as Jack concluded their pitch. "This effort is impressive," he stated, his voice firm yet not devoid of warmth. "You've shown adaptability and strength, vital attributes for our partnership. Transparency goes both ways, and I appreciate the openness with which you confronted your challenges." Jack exhaled, relief flooding him. The validation carried more weight than just praise. It was an acknowledgement of his evolution. Moving from trepidation to authenticity had not only helped him reclaim his identity as a leader but also strengthened his bond with his team. After the meeting, the atmosphere in the office was electric. His team burst into applause, a testament to their shared victory. Jack felt a rush of pride. Their successes built on collaboration meant he had fostered an environment where vulnerability was welcomed, not shunned. The weight of betrayal that had once gripped him dissipated in the light of genuine connection and collaboration. In the days that followed, the merger with Lu Wei was solidified, a testament to their hard work and dedication. Financial reports came in with marked improvement, and Jack's newfound authenticity won him not only respect from Lu but admiration from his team. He had proven that true leadership transcends merely achieving goals. It rests on the foundation of integrity, community, and the courage to confront one's own fears. Through this transformative journey, Jack Reynolds emerged with solid confidence, recognized competence, and a reinvigorated vision for career and life. No longer just a tech CEO driven by numbers, he had cultivated a company culture of shared values, where transparency and trust thrived. The once piecemeal decisions he had made out of ambition blended seamlessly into a cohesive narrative of personal fulfillment. Jack knew the road ahead would bring more challenges, but he welcomed them now, armed with the awareness and strength he had cultivated as he sat back in his chair with a contented smile. The skyline of Seattle framed the horizon outside, radiating opportunity and a future rich with promise. The essence of who he had become resonated deep within, a melody of integrity and ambition that harmonized to create something truly remarkable. Now, as you reflect on this powerful story of transformation, remember that every decision you make can lead you to a future of your making. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.